Trump is doing everything in his power to bait black people, and it's only getting worse because black people aren't falling for anything at all right now. To the point where now you're just about to deploy the National Guard in Washington, D.C., where there's a high black population, especially a high black homeless population, because you want black people in the streets protesting so you can enact martial law. We all know it. We all know it. Because the thing is, when white people have been protesting, and all of these protests have been so civil, none of them have even been streamed on TV because they're not violent. They don't get violent with white people. But they have no problem getting violent with black people. And they know if they can get black people out to protest and to fight for our rights yet again, they can enact martial law and they can throw us all in jail if we ever think of rebelling. And I'm not living in a military city. No offense, but I don't respect any authority at all whatsoever. That's my issue. I'm also not afraid of cops. I'm not afraid of the military. I've had cops with guns in my faces. I've had cops with giant horses and guns in my faces while I protested before. I will have a traffic stop and there will be multiple cops that get out for me at a traffic stop. And I've never been scared of y'all, because the thing is, y'all get off on people being scared. That's the only way y'all can't get me. Like, none of you bitches scare me. Y'all are like my little brother with his toy gun. Like, oh my God, you're gonna get me. Like, quit playing with your food and just do what you want to do. But everybody else is just a chess piece. Everybody else is. The only group that he's actually after is black people. That's why he's deporting Latinos, because who's going to work in the fields now? With black female unemployment rate reaching an all-time high. That's why he's cutting Medicaid. That's why you're trying to regulate food stamps. That's why you cut the weather service. That's why you cut the only accessible piece of media to every single child in the country, poor and rich. He literally said, he was like, they were on a farm and he was talking about farmer responsibility, as in people could live on these farms with these farmers and they could just build property on the land and people could live here and work on the fields. Does that not sound familiar? Make America Great Again is bringing back slavery, bringing back black people in shackles. That's all it is. That's literally everything. And I think he knows that black people aren't falling for it, which is why he's getting more intense and more aggressive with his tactics. Because black people aren't falling for anything right now. We're not protesting. We're not fighting. We're just minding our business. So, good luck.
Hold on. So let me get this straight. The white farmers in Louisiana, they're mad because people of color won't come work on their farms for $11 an hour in 100-degree heat for 10 plus hours a day. Let me run that back. White farmers are mad. The very farmers that voted Republican, okay, they voted for this, are mad that people of color won't come work on their farms for $11 an hour in 100-degree heat for 10 plus hours a day. I'm saying, you get what you ask for. Hey, it's FAFO type shit, okay? But hey, don't be fooled. I feel like it's gonna come to a point where they're finna make people get on their farms. Don't count me to it. Because if 2025 was a checklist, hey.
So I'm a black farmer, and a lot of people are wondering, why are black farmers not panicking like a lot of white farmers? Well, let me explain to you the reasons why. It's because white farmers have been handed everything to them. A lot of them. Not saying all of them, but a good bit of them. And by that I mean this. MLK even pointed out. He says, farmers in the West and the Midwest who were white, they were given land, they were given money, they were given training, they were given a lot. Whereas the black farmers weren't given anything. And the largest civil rights settlement in U.S. history is Pickford v. Glickman, where you had a class action lawsuit, bunch of black farmers all joined the lawsuit, and they won a huge settlement because the USDA was shown to be racist for decades. So because black farmers haven't been given anything, we've been learning to do without, unlike your white farmers. So when things are taken away from you, all your subsidies, all your tax breaks, guess what? You panic. Whereas we've always been going through this shit. So there's problems in privilege.
So I want to talk about this article really quick because it's all starting to make so much sense right now. This author and journalist was having lunch with friends. There was a white guy and he's married to a black lady, and they were talking politics. And he says that farmers weren't worried about Trump deporting migrants because, wait for it, they thought because unemployment was so high for black people, that these black people would run back to the fields and do the jobs that the migrants were doing when they got deported. So she asked, like, where'd you get that information from? White farmer TikTok or MAGA Facebook memes? Like, where'd you get this information from? And her and the wife basically started giving him information, letting him know unemployment is only 6.8% for African Americans, and 93% of Black people are currently working. Got so caught up in what they were hearing at Fox News and other places, thinking black jobs, immigrants are taking black jobs, that they just assumed they'd get rid of the immigrants and Black people would take the immigrants' jobs. Sir, our ancestors did not march, die, and fight for civil rights so we could go back to the fields? Like, what? But shout out to the Latino immigrant population that have mastered that labor with skill and stamina. This country doesn't even appreciate it enough. Oh, and by the way, when they do try to hire Americans, Black or white, to do those jobs, most of them don't even last half a day. They just ghost them without even picking up their paychecks. True story. So y'all, tell me, do you really believe that they thought Black people were planning to replace immigrants in that labor force if they got deported? Because I need to know who was smoking that logic.
I keep on saying, and I'll say it again, white privilege and white supremacy makes white people lazy. You become lazy because you're so used to being given things, you're so used to having things handed to you, to a point where you don't understand that for these things to be handed to you, it means that there was a lot of hard work from other people. You think that because you deported a bunch of people, that Black people will come back and work in your farms? What? You know what Black people said? You know what Black Americans said? They said they would rather let the country go hungry than make them their slaves, than make you profit off of their backs and their sweat and their tears. That will never happen again. You are so used to everything working for you. You're so used to the government working for you that you don't even know what it is like not to have something. And this is why we have Black people, Black farmers, who are not crying the way you guys are crying right now, because they are already used to having a system that is not working for them. So they have had to transition and find ways that will actually work for them, that does not need the government or does not need white people being on their side for them to win. But before I give my full commentary, let's listen to what other Black people have to say, and then we'll come back and talk about it. See you shortly.
So them farmers really thought we was coming to get in them fields? Is that what I'm reading? Y'all really thought we was coming to get in those fields? It's funny when Black people say stuff like over a year ago, when we said that Donald Trump specifically saying that immigrants were coming over here to steal Black jobs meant that him deporting them was supposed to open the door for us to get back in the fields. Of course, immediately, most people said, y'all are reaching. Now here we are. They are literally on Twitter, all over social media, complaining about the fact that we did not come into those fields. I get the unemployment rate is rising rapidly in the Black community. I believe for us it's about 7% compared to about 4.5% for just about any other demographic. But that also means that 93% of us have jobs. 93% of us are working. And 93% of us were never coming out into those fields to pick your stupid crops. Y'all are supposed to be the pick them up by their bootstraps people, right? Y'all are always the ones talking about earn this, that, hard work, this, that. But then y'all never want to do your own damn work. Y'all brought us over here, all right? We spent hundreds of years doing that stuff for free. We spent another 100 years after that with Jim Crow rights. We fought, bled, died, protested, did everything we possibly could to gain the rights that we have now. We live in this country, we work, we own businesses. We are not going back to your fields. Can y'all just let that shit go? Like, can y'all let it go? It ain't gonna happen. And there's nothing you're gonna do to make it happen.
You don't got the numbers. You don't have the manpower. We're not going back. The experiment failed, okay? And now guess what's happening? Food is rotting in the ground because y'all really thought we was coming back out there.
So I just saw this video of this white man who's not MAGA, by the way, or at least he says he's not, but because he damn sure selling the look. But he says he has a fake account over on Twitter, and he joined this group of white farmers, and he's pretending to be MAGA just to see what they're talking about. So apparently they had this group chat or group call where the white MAGA farmers were upset and saying the only reason why they voted for shitty britches was because they thought the blacks didn't have jobs and the blacks would come back and work their fields. They thought they were going to get slavery back by voting for shitty britches. But they have been saying loud and proud with their chest that immigrants were taking their jobs. Yet there are a couple of farms here in Texas that overnight lost 100% of their workforce. But immigrants were taking their jobs, right? Racism is expensive, huh?
So, word is out now that the white farmers voted for Donald Trump because they thought they were going to get black Americans in the fields. Because they also thought black folks did not have jobs. So when we put this all together, somehow the white farmers were convinced that black folks don't have jobs. We don't work. we don't work. And so they voted for Donald Trump because they thought, okay, he gonna send them in the fields. So Donald Trump and them, with their whole Project 2025, said, okay, so we got to make this happen. So we got to cut these DEI stuff, all this DEI stuff, to put black Americans out of work. When in reality, they put a bunch of white folk out of work just to get black folks out of work. And so all these cuts that are happening are to try and harm black Americans so much till they think that we're going to go into the fields. Now, when you think about that, that makes you double back and see why they want the Latinos out. Because the Latinos, right, to them, they are reproducing entirely too fast, okay? And so they're like, we got to get them out of here because black Americans don't reproduce as fast as the Latinos. And so if we could get them out, then the black Americans can take their place in the field. This is for real. And so now you double back to the black jobs. They're taking your job. Yes, you got to double back to what he said. They're taking black jobs, y'all. Like, they have all this down. Like, they have all this whole circle. So now let's go back to the farmers, if you're still with me, okay? Because the white farmers, that's what they believed was going to happen. So if y'all got all that straight, this is the message to the white farmers. The last thing you want is for black Americans to be in your fields. Don't let the devil fool you. As a matter of fact, you might want to let the devil fool you to see what's going to happen. Well, I'm trying to tell you, the last thing you ever gonna want is black Americans in your fields. Nah, I'm gonna let you fill in the blank on that one. And this goes to show that they will go to any lengths. Remember I said that, first of all, we had the Latinos, some Latinos, not all of them, just some Cuban ones, talk about you're next, right? To black Americans. So they thought we was immigrants, okay? And so now we have the white farmers who are still living in the 1700s, thinking back to glory days, quote unquote. They thought with their vote, we were going to the fields. So you got one group thinking they gonna kick us out of here, and you got another group of people thinking that we going to the fields. Now this right here is a real mental problem, because people are literally stuck. I'm telling y'all, people are stuck in the 1700s when they think about black Americans, okay? I'm telling you, their thought process, they sit around probably campgrounds and picnics and stuff and talk about how can we make this happen? That was their heyday. I'm telling you, when that freaking plantation house burned down in Louisiana, I think, right? That was their heyday. Now, I'm trying to say that was their heyday. When that plantation house down in Louisiana got torched, okay? I'm telling you, that broke them. But I just want to, I want to teach them a little bit more history if I have your attention, right? If I have your attention, right? This is some history that a lot of people don't know, okay? But y'all didn't know Black Americans had white servants? Y'all ain't know that? I mean, it wasn't widespread or anything like that, but we had white servants. Yeah, and they wanted to be our servants because they needed work. They were coming over from Europe. Yeah, and they were docile too. Yeah, they were docile. And Black Americans, the aristocrats, the wealthy ones, because they were wealthy ones, okay? They had white servants. So I don't know if y'all ever see them pictures. Let me find a picture. I couldn't find a picture. I wasn't gonna go back and try to find a picture, but if you can watch videos, you'll be able to find a picture of possibly some Black people in the horse-drawn carriages, and there may be someone white as the horseman or the coach. I'm not sure what you call them, coachman or whatever. Yeah, he worked for them. Yes, indeed. It was a big thing. It was a big thing, when everybody began to see in the early 1900s, what? Black Americans, they use the other word. Black Americans have white servants. Yeah, that's a bit of history they don't like to put on TV. And the reason for it is because they were like, okay, they had, white people here that they could hire. And they also had Black people here that they could hire. But they felt that the white people from Europe were so docile. And they were less expensive. Now, they weren't the only ones who thought that. The wealthy white people thought that too. The wealthy white people were like, yeah, we like the docile immigrant white people. They're a lot cheaper. They take less money. Yeah, so there's a bit of history for you. Oh yeah, it was like that. Oh yeah, because they knew they would have to pay Black Americans a lot more. Lot more. So they always went for the immigrant. And see, when the Black Americans hired the white immigrants, they were like really like, yes, we will do it. Yes, we will do it. Because they want to stay in America. Here's the difference though. Black Americans didn't mistreat them. They didn't mistreat them at all. But anyway, that's just a little side note. But yeah, to the white farmers again, this is the last thing you want. The last thing you want is for Black Americans to be out in your fields. The last thing you want. Just and believe. And next time, you know what? Stop basing your vote on how to harm Black Americans, because you're going to end up running into that wall that's going to tumble. Okay? That's what's going to end up happening. Stop doing that. All of you do it. Like all of you. You had the conservative Asian Americans coming through with the whole Ivy League school. We don't want Black Americans there. Then you had the I will vote for Donald Trump Cubans. Okay? Who were thinking, okay, you're next. Okay? Okay, we're not immigrants, so we're not next. And now we have the white farmer who thought that they were going to get the Black Americans in the fields. And then this is all off of Project 2025. So now look where you got America.
To their country with a pass back in legally, and we're doing things that are very difficult to do and very complex, but it works really well. We're sending them back, and then they're schooling, they're learning, they're coming in legally. We have a lot of that going on, but we're taking care of our farmers. We can't let our farmers not have anybody. These are these people that you can't replace them very easily. People that live in the inner city are not doing that work. They're just not doing that work, and they've tried. We've tried. Everybody tried. They don't do it. These people do it naturally. He said, what happens if they get it to a farmer the other day? What happens if they get a bad back? He said, they don't get a bad back, sir, because if they get a bad back, they die. I said, that's interesting, isn't it? These are very, in many ways, they're very, very special people. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so now that you have actually heard the clip, that you've heard the recording for yourself, let's actually break down exactly what Donald Trump has said so far. He started off that clip or that recording stating, how, they have policies and plan of trying to help the farmers, right? Because they desperately need these migrant workers. They need these undocumented migrant workers. They can't leave them without anybody. That right there is admission that the United States agriculture economy is taking a hit behind his policies and his mass deportations. That's the first thing. Donald Trump stresses the fact that the American farmers cannot be left without anybody. They cannot be left without anybody. And then he further goes on by saying that the undocumented migrant workers that he once was calling illegal criminals are very, very special people. They're very, very special people that cannot be easily replaced. Right after Donald Trump makes that statement and say that they cannot be replaced easily, he goes right into stating that people, inner city people, are not doing that work. Words have meanings, okay? When it comes to this government and this American society, when they say inner people, they're referring to black people. And when he said that kind of work, he's talking about field work. In addition to him stating that inner city people will not be doing that kind of work, he goes on by saying that I've tried, we've tried, everybody's tried. You know who everybody is? The American government, white supremacy. And do you want to know what their version of trying was? DEI eliminations. DEI eliminations. And not just that, but the undoing of so many policies and acts that actually allowed for black people to have equal footing amongst white people in certain areas and certain spaces. The elimination of DEI programs and incentives were intended to push black people out of the spaces that white people deemed should only be for them. And I'm talking about admin jobs. I'm talking about jobs in medicine, in accounting. They wanted black people to go back to back-breaking work, okay? Being in the fields, hospitality work. That's what they wanted. As of right now, 300,000 women have been displaced from employment, okay? They have lost their jobs. And they thought, and when I say they, this white supremacy American government thought that those 300,000 black women were gonna go back into the field. Instead, they got creative. They got creative. And so with all of these mass deportations, they thought that they were going to be able to fill the roles with their original laborers, okay? Their labor workers, black people. Now, see, if there's only two things that you take from this video, the first thing that I want you to take away is the fact that America's success is directly dependent on its labor, free labor, an amount of free labor that they're able to exploit from the citizens, okay? And the second thing is that black Americans will always be their first target. That will always be their first target. When they think about getting free labor, exploited free labor, they will always think of black Americans. Do you understand the level of hatred, jealousy, animosity that you have to have, that this American Constitution has to have, to literally pick at one group of people forever, to the point where they are willing to wipe out all other races to try to get this one race of people to bow down? And they refuse. They refuse. You guys, America, had labor that you were already exploiting, but you were willing to get rid of them in mass deportations, all because you wanted to push black people out of those offices. You wanted to push them out of those doctor coats and those labs. You wanted to push them out of those research trials. You wanted them to be in the field. So you got rid of the migrant workers that were here that you were already exploiting, because if that's one thing that America knows how to do, is exploit some fucking labor. You already had it, but you got rid of them, hoping that you can force black people back into those positions. And now because black people said, let it all fucking burn. Let it all fucking burn. Before you come and get me, let it all burn. Now that black people have actually said that and stood on that, you guys are realizing how fucked you really are. White supremacy, white American supremacy is realizing how fucked they really are. Because how many black people do you know was opening up their mouth to say that, yeah, these immigrants, these migrant workers are taking our jobs? Not one black person. Not one black person said that. And by the way, that's what they meant when they were saying black jobs. Hospitality, cleaning people's homes, taking care of people's kids, picking berries. That's what they wanted as black jobs. They don't want us to be engineers. They don't want us to be doctors. They don't want us to be comedians. They don't want us to be anything. They don't want us to do nothing but work for them. And now because of America's racism and all you MAGA supporters that went and voted in hopes of making America great again, which really means white people in the office, black people in the fields, all right? You guys are actually really realizing how much you fucked yourselves over. You really fucked yourselves over. Racism is expensive. It's really fucking expensive. They say that with each great empire comes a great fall. And it looks like America's on its way.
I'll put an ease to white supremacists and white people who are privileged and do not want to accept that they're actually privileged by the government and the situations that they are in. Obviously, because most white people think that if you tell them that they are privileged, they think that it relates to them having money or them being wealthy, which is just arrogance. But I will not dive into that. You see, how I'll put you at ease is for you to realize that the times that you were benefiting from a government that wasn't working for other people, that wasn't working for people that they thought meant something to the country, is when those people actually took a step and decided that they're not going to depend on you. They're not going to depend on your reasoning or whatever you thought about them. They're going to depend on themselves. And that's why you have Black people who have built a community that can actually build them. You usually see movies and you see on TikTok, you see Black people actually supporting other Black people, something that is very foreign to white people because they do not understand how. There are people who can actually help other people, especially not gatekeeping into certain things, helping these people to survive and be successful in certain things, because you're told there are millions of people. You cannot feed each and every one of them. And you come to find that Black people do not have the sense of individuality. Yes, sometimes it works against them, but it also comes to work for them, because you have made it in your system that Black people do not have the chance to be individuals. So whenever a Black person does something good, it is a shine towards each and every Black person. Whenever a Black person does something bad, maybe something illegal, it is reflected upon each and every Black person, which is kind of sad, but also can really work towards building Black people. Because what you don't realize is Black people are held to a certain standard. Black people are not allowed to speak ill of America. If America is not working good for them, they're not allowed to speak ill of America, even though it's literally working against them. Anytime they go on social media and talk about the things that are done towards them, you'll find white supremacists and people who benefit from the system of America talking about how, in the comments most especially, talking about how, you are you are lucky that you're even in this country. Why are you talking ill about our country? Go back to another country. Go back to Africa, where people will actually accept you. Why are you chasing people away when they're the people who are actually literally holding your country together? And you know what is even funny is because we have had so many white presidents in America, and we had just one Black president in America. And you cannot compare the kind of work that man has done to what these people had in their minds that he will do. That is a Barack Obama. Yes, he did have his faults. He did do certain things that were not, good according to certain people or maybe everyone. But there are things that he put in place to make sure that everyone's lives were much easier. Everyone's, not Black, not white, but both of those people combined. And the reason as to why white people and white farmers are where they are right now is because they chose a government that they thought would work for them and will work against Black people, because that is what they get off of. You get off in the distraction, and in the pain of Black people you think don't deserve to be in a country that is yours, yet that country isn't even yours. You were just born in that country. Otherwise, Columbus didn't discover that country. He did not find that country. It was existing. It had people. He literally just traveled to a country and found people. He should have gone back to his country, but he chose to do what he did and call it America, and that's why white people have so much pride in a stolen land, which doesn't even make sense. Black people have said, and they will say it again, they'd rather see white America starve than them go back to working for you in the farms, than go back to living into the traumas that their ancestors lived in, than to go back to a place where they have to answer to you, white supremacist. They said they would rather let America starve, and best believe it. And yeah, we have Trump talking about how Black farmers should go back to. Why don't you learn a thing or two from Black farmers? Why are Black farmers succeeding? Why are they not on social media crying about their issues? Why is their life much better than yours? We go back to the same thing. They have learned to live with certain conditions that you are so new to that you don't realize, you don't understand what is going on. You've never had a government work against you. You've never had a government that is working to make sure that you don't make ends meet, that you become poorer and poorer and poorer. You've never had that. You've never had to be in a place where you have to change certain things about your life to make sure that this new change accommodates my lifestyle, accommodates my children, my family, and my day-to-day life. And to some extent, it is really good that you guys voted for Trump. As much as it hurts Black Americans, it also hurts you too. And now you get to sit down in your houses, you get to sit down in your farms, you get to understand that fertilizers amounts are going high, the prices are going higher and higher. You're seeing manure prices are going higher and higher. You're seeing buying seeds is becoming more and more expensive each and every day. And having a government that is working against you, that is something that you've never experienced. You've never had to have a point where you have to research about a certain person. You have to sit down and actually see if this person actually qualifies to being the leader of your country. You choose someone based on the color of their skin, not because of their character. And that is one of your biggest flaws. But because of this situation, you have had and you will have to think about your next vote. You'll have to think about what you're going to do next. And I think that God is using Trump to make sure that these white people learn a lesson and understand that you cannot get off on the pain of Black people. You cannot get off on the tears and the sweat of Black people. That will never happen. It's not going to start today. Yes, you have enjoyed it for quite some time. And you have chosen not to pay reparations. You've chosen not to give these Black people a benefit of the doubt and actually give them the opportunities that you have. You have chosen to live in a system that benefits you and hurts them. You have chosen to do all these things. But let me tell you, you're not going to hide away from it for much too long. You're going to have to get back on your toes, stand up and actually listen and look back at your history and learn a thing or two, because your fight is not against the Black people. Your fight is not against the Latinos and the Hispanics and the minority groups. Your fight is against the 1%. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Trump, people who have money, because it doesn't even make sense. Elon Musk is about to be worth 1 trillion. 1 trillion. That is the kind of money that can buy a freaking country. And yet, you have the time to be racist. You have the time to look at someone and be prejudiced against them just because of the color of their skin. Wake up and realize what these people are doing. They are conditioning you to fight against the wrong people. And until you actually wake up, America is not going to ever go anywhere. If you have enjoyed today's video, if you have learned something, kindly, or if you have been motivated by something I've said, kindly consider sharing, subscribing, and liking. I'd love to see you again. Kindly come back or watch another video from my videos. I'd love to hear what you have to say. So also comment, what do you think about this particular topic? And I'd like to interact with you in the comment section. If you'd like to support me, I do have a Buy Me a Coffee link down in the description below. I will truly appreciate it. And I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye for now.